Essies, I'm Akili King, Senior Beauty Editor at Essence Magazine, and today, in honor of Women's History Month, I'm so excited to present our series, Makeup Herstory, where we highlight some inspiring Black women in the beauty industry and their journeys. Today, I have the complete pleasure of sitting down with the Lisa Price, founder and president of Carol's Daughter, one of my favorite brands. I'm honored to be with you today. How are you?
I am very well, thank you.
Yes.
And I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, we're happy to have you, looking lovely and colorful, ready for spring. I love the hair as well.
Thank you.
Gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yes. So yes, we can definitely just jump right in. So the brand launched in 1993. Amazing. And you know, you launched it in your kitchen in Brooklyn. I'm curious if you could take us back to that time. What inspired you to launch the brand? What was your hair journey and career journey like leading up to that?
Well, in 1993, I didn't think that I was launching a brand. I thought that I loved making fragrance and body care products, and my mom said, they smell really good. I think people would buy them and you should sell them.
Right.
And I started to sell them. But I really thought of it as, you know, a way to make some extra money.
Right.
I didn't think I was starting a brand. Of course, that changed later. And as far as hair goes, we started the brand with just fragrance and body. And when I would go out to sell, people would ask me for hair care products. So I remember saying to my husband, it's like, I have to research herbs and oils for hair because people keep asking me for hair care. And I began to do that, and I remember putting these essential oils together in a base of olive oil, and I infused lavender and sage herb into it, and I made my very first hair oil.
Nice.
And I started to use it for myself. And that process of making things for other people, learning and making things that other people were asking me for, but then trying it on myself, it made me realize that I settled for what I could get for hair care.
Right.
I just figured, well, this is it. This is what we have. This is what's available. And then I realized I didn't have to settle, and kept going back and making new and different things, and it grew from there. And before I started the business, I worked in television and film production. So
wow.
that's what I thought my job was,
Right.
and what it was going to be. And this was my hobby and my craft and my fun. And then it turned into my life.
I love that. We love when our passion and side projects and side passions turn into our careers.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful. And so you also mentioned your mother briefly just now. I know the brand is named after her. Tell me about how your mother inspires you, how she inspired the name of the brand, and a little background there.
My mom was a glasses half full person, always. My mom was, you're always blessed, even when you're going through an adversity. That was the way that she looked at life. And she taught me that in my business. She was not a business person, but some of the best business lessons that I live by today, I learned from my mother. And I named the company Carol's Daughter because it was something that I was very proud of about myself. And I wanted to celebrate that. I loved being a part of my family. I loved being Carol's daughter. I also loved being Robert's daughter, but Carol's daughter just sounded better.
Right.
And after my mom passed, because my mom passed in 2003, not 2023,
Okay.
2003, it was something that you can't prepare yourself for. It's unlike anything that you experience. You know, even though I had experienced grief in my life, it was not the same as losing my mother. And that process was better for me, or as good as it could be, because every day I saw her face.
Right.
I saw her name. And my mom was the type of person that when she talked about when she passed, you know, when that time comes, she didn't want you crying and upset, and you know, and I'm like, yeah, but you're my mother, so I'm gonna cry. Get used to it, you know. But knowing that about her, when I walked into work every day and I saw her name everywhere on all the jars, on the website, on my computer, you know, it's just everywhere. I thought about that, you know, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to cry. I'm going to, you know, get the work done. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And I just felt like she was always around me. And then for all of these years, I get to talk about her. I get to tell her story. I get to talk about what a great person she was. So I'm grateful that I named the company what I did, because she never leaves my side, ever.
I love that. That's beautiful. And, you know, you're keeping her legacy alive through the work you do. And that makes me curious too. What are some maybe beauty and confidence lessons that you learned from your mother?
My mother hated makeup.
Okay, yeah.
It makes sense though, because for a long time we didn't have shades that worked with our skin.
Right.
And my mom had freckles. So she hated makeup.
Right.
Didn't like foundation. She had a mascara, a blush, and a lipstick in her medicine cabinet.
Nice.
Forever.
Essentials.
But like the same one.
Right.
Forever. Until
it,
something dried up, and then she would go get a new one. So she didn't encourage me to wear makeup. And when I went through a period in my 20s where I was putting on foundation all the time, you know, she said, you know, you should be comfortable with what your face looks like and just use makeup to enhance it. You shouldn't cover up your face.
Right.
So I ended up with this philosophy that has worked well for me. You know, I wear makeup, but I don't wear makeup to be somebody who I'm not. I wear makeup to enhance some things. I might want to conceal my dark circles. Like when I was getting my face done for today, I said, I don't need to be glammed up, but I don't need to look tired, you know?
Right, no.
But I learned that from her, that when you look in the mirror, you need to know who you are and what you look like, and love that above all else.
Right.
And then you can just enhance what's already there, but you have to love the person you see in the mirror.
Exactly. And that way you won't feel, you know, like chained to makeup.
Right.
You won't feel like, oh, I need to have this to face the world, right? So I love that. That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, also zoom in on this glam too, because you're looking really good. Love
you,
the
Billy.
eyeshadow. Yes, shout out Billy. I love it. I love it. So fast forward to today, you are found in pretty much every major retailer that you can walk into. And you have some of my favorite lines. Goddess Strength is a staple for me, for sure. And then you've been a part of the L'Oreal family for maybe almost a decade, or
Yeah,
like,
a little over 10 years.
Yeah, a little over 10 years, since 2014. And now you are returning. You've announced that you're returning to your independently owned roots.
Yes.
What inspired this pivot? What does it mean to you? And what do you want consumers and fans to know?
What inspired the pivot? Missing that independence and feeling like I did the thing that I was supposed to do. You know, you have investors, your investors need to exit. We exit by joining a strategic partner. I stayed there for 10 years. It was a great experience. I learned a lot. I don't regret 1 minute.
Of course.
But I think there's more. And I think there's different. I don't want to say that it's going to be better per se, because I think better is relative. It might be better for me because I'm not a corporate girl.
Right.
Never have been, never will be.
Okay, you heard it.
Some people are, some people aren't. I'm one of those who isn't. And,
Totally.
you know, what I want people to understand that some people have never understood, this entire time, I never went anywhere. So I've been running my brand, developing product, writing copy, writing labels, researching ingredients, talking to consumers, educating, etc. The whole time. There's this perception that you sell and you disappear.
Right.
So I'm still present, but now I get to be more present. Now I don't have to walk into a corporate boardroom and talk to people and plan things and figure out ideas. I can sit at a table in my kitchen with key people and say, what are we going to do?
Exactly.
And that's how we built it. So
I love that. No,
it feels good to be back there.
I love that. That's beautiful. Returning to your roots, keeping that authenticity alive, which you've done throughout, but now you can apply, you know, what you've learned maybe along the way.
And to
too.
be able to be more nimble, because when you're in a really big company, you do have to follow process and protocol just so that everything is above board and as it should be. And when you're smaller, you can be more nimble. It doesn't have to take 24 months to launch a new product.
Right, exactly, exactly. No, I love that. So I'm excited to see what you guys will do going forward. Speaking of that, you've been around, the brand has been around for over 30 years, which is incredible. What are you hoping for the next 30 of the brand, the future of the brand? What excites you?
When I first started Carol's Daughter, the only other brand that I knew of in that space was Madam Walker, which didn't exist anymore. And I always thought it would be so great if we could walk into a store and see Madam Walker's products. Now, since I had that thought, Madam Walker did become a line that was on shelves, but at the time that I thought that, that wasn't the case. And so what I wanted for myself was for my heirs, my great-great-great-grandchildren to be in a store one day and say, oh yeah, my great-great-grandmother started that line. That's in my family.
Right.
Because for us, we don't always get to have that legacy. We've built things and then, you know, we lose things or they go away and it's in a history book somewhere, but it isn't still around. And I wanted it to be still around.
Right.
And I thought that it would be still around in the L'Oreal family, but it's still around.
I love it. No, I love that. And I love what you said about keeping the legacy for your future, you know, children's children, etc.
Whether they want to be a part of the business or not, just that being on the shelf. Now, of course, today we're all very blessed that there's Carol's Daughter, there's Shea Moisture, there's Mael, there's Cantu, there's Camille Rose. Well, not Cantu so much. Cantu exists, but not the same category. Camille Rose, you know, the Dew. We have so many more brands. You know, I didn't get to grow up with that, so I'm grateful to be a part of that.
Absolutely, and the brands, your brand and the brands you just mentioned, are what helped me accept my natural hair back in the early 2000s. So, you know, you are a Black history maker, absolutely. And when we walked in here today, our head intern in charge, as he likes to call himself, Mr. Rich Dennis, mentioned Madam C.J. Walker. He said, there's Madam C.J. Walker, and then there's Miss Lisa Price right there. So you are absolutely a game changer, history maker. What does it mean to you to be a history maker?
Honestly, it isn't something that I think about often. I think if I thought about it, I would just be overwhelmed and I wouldn't be able to do what I do every day. But when I announced this new chapter of Carol's Daughter last week Monday, someone wrote in a caption, I don't think anybody's done this before. Not a Black woman anyway. Guess you're making herstory again, huh, Lisa? And I had this moment and I was like, oh my God, I did. I did. But I think if I thought about that as I negotiated and went through the process, it would have been too much.
Totally.
So I'm grateful that someone brought it to my attention, but also grateful that I didn't have to focus on it.
Absolutely.
I could just focus on the work.
Right, and that shows you're just walking in your authentic path.
Yeah.
And doing what was meant for you to do.
Absolutely.
And we love to see it. Yes. And so, you know, on top of running this incredible brand that makes myself included and everyone feel so seen and held, you are also leading the charge with Love Delivered. Tell us more about this program.
Well, during COVID, when we were all stuck inside the house and couldn't go anywhere, I became a huge fan of audio messages. And you know, because you couldn't always, even though we were all home, you couldn't always talk to people because sometimes we were busy doing things like washing our groceries. And so I left this message for my friend Latham Thomas, who is the founder of Mama Glow.
Yes.
And I said, Carol's Daughter wants to do a philanthropic thing, and the thing that we're all really passionate about is Black maternal health. Do you know of any not-for-profit groups that cater to Black maternal health? There were maternal health programs, but not Black maternal health programs. And she said, I'm filling out the paperwork for mine right now.
Right.
And so we started with these audio messages, and then when it was safe to be around people outside, we started to go on walks. And by 2021, we gave birth, as we like to say, to Love Delivered.
Nice.
And it's a partnership between her organization, Mama Glow, and Carol's daughter. And it has been so amazing since 2021 to have not just your consumer, but people on your staff volunteering to do events because they're so passionate about it.
Right.
And now we have 2 new moms on our staff. They're delivering they're both April 25th. They have like roughly the same due date.
Nice.
And they've been able to benefit from the information that has been in the office for the past 4 years in planning their families and their pregnancies.
Amazing. Well, it's amazing. We need platforms like this to educate our community and just keep us safe too, because we hear so many horror stories with, you know, the Black women delivery situations and rates, death rates, complications. So
yeah, it's not as it should be. And you know, when we first started, Latham and I, it was very important for us to share that information and awareness and to point out the statistics. And then as we continued in our journey, we also wanted it to be celebration, because the last thing you want is for, you know, a parent going into delivery feeling scared.
Right, exactly.
You know, you want them to feel confident and empowered, and you want their birthing partner to feel that they can be their advocate. So that's the work that we do, because we want every delivery to be the amazing, wonderful, transformative experience that it should be.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Amen. Mic drop. Yes. And so, you know, you're obviously a pro at what you do. I'm curious what your advice would be to the next generation of upcoming beauty entrepreneurs, especially Black women and people hoping to maybe launch their own brand or embark into the beauty world.
The most important thing to me for any entrepreneur is knowing your why, knowing your story, knowing what it is that you're passionate about, and not letting anyone else tell that story better than you. Someone else can tell the story, but just not better than you.
Right.
And they have to tell the story that you wrote.
Exactly.
And you do have to pivot and shift, because the world changes. You know, I remember when I had catalogs, because there was no internet. There was no social media. We didn't have phones with pictures, and it didn't exist. So you took photos and you typed and you wrote little books, and that's how people read about you and knew what to buy. And I loved that process. I loved writing the stories and all of that. If I stayed stuck in the written word, even though I'm passionate about the written word, I can't stay stuck there.
Right.
So I had to learn how to write captions. Now my captions tend to be a little long.
That's okay.
I'm older. I'm different. But you know, you have to adapt with the times so that you don't lose your audience. But your why and your passion don't shift. The way you communicate might shift, but what you're saying doesn't shift.
Right. Absolutely. I love that. Yes, and you've embodied that definitely as you've shifted and grown and expanded. So I love that. And then, so you're very busy, obviously. I'm very curious what self-care looks like for you these days.
Self-care is making sure that I exercise. It was something I did earlier today. I was multitasking, leaving messages for people while I was riding my Peloton.
Right, nice.
And recently, I've had to go to physical therapy, which sounds like, ooh, what's wrong with her? But I had an issue with my back in November. I ended up at this physical therapist's office in January. And it has been such a blessing for me, because he's taught me a different way to walk and move and exercise. And I just feel so much strength and balance and everything. So I think I'm just going to tell people I'm going to the gym because when I say I'm going to physical
Basically.
therapy, they're like, "What happened?" You know,
Right, they get scared.
But it really is exercise at this point. And I've also learned to put on my schedule baths, at least 2 a week,
Nice.
but preferably 3. And they're always magnesium baths, at
Amazing.
least 20 minutes. It makes a difference. I sleep better. I'm calmer, and you know, I'm older, so I'm 62. I'll be 63 in May.
Amazing.
I have to take care of myself.
Right.
There's no negotiation.
Right.
There's no, oh, I'll do it later. There's
Right.
no beast mode. Beast mode stops.
Right, no, exactly.
It doesn't work when you get to a certain point. So yeah, it's baths. I knit. I love to knit. I love to crochet. I love
Nice.
doing things with my hands. I am obsessed with fragrance.
Yes.
It's a little bit of a problem. I just got a
Yes.
delivery today. I'm so happy. Everything smells so good.
I love it.
But yeah, those are my self-care things. And movies.
Amazing.
I love movies.
Oh, yes.
I love film.
You're naming all the things I love. So I'm like, yeah, exactly.
And I think they invented streaming platforms for me. Because I
Right.
watch everything.
I love that. No, that sounds lovely. Love that you're into fragrance. You smell amazing. Noticed
Thank
when you
you.
came in. What are some fragrances that you love?
Well, today I'm wearing a new one from Amouage, and it's called
Ooh.
Purpose 50.
Okay.
But I love ouds and I love tuberose. I love rose. There's a perfumer called Lucky Armstrong, and his company is
cool.
Shanso.
Okay.
His scents are great. Harlem Fragrance Company.
Oh,
their
yes.
their
I
fragrances
love them.
are
And their
so beautiful.
candles.
Yes. The candles and the fragrances. I'm waiting for some of the candles to become fragrances.
Right.
I have Josephine for Josephine Baker, and I
Yes.
have Billy.
Nice.
And they're beautiful.
Yes, we just featured their Nina Simone for our beauty
know that
awards. Yeah,
Oh.
it's new or launched last year, but yes.
Oh.
Yeah, so good. And speaking of products, do you have a favorite of your own or favorites that you're, always return to?
It's so hard to pick a favorite
Yes.
sometimes, but interestingly enough, one that has become a favorite that I never thought would be a favorite. I've never been a person who likes gel,
Okay.
but I love our black vanilla jelly.
So
I
good.
really do. I
Smells so
really,
good.
really do. But I've never liked gel, but I love that gel. And a less popular item within our line, but I adore it, is the Wash Day Delight micellar shampoo, especially when I'm wearing braids.
Yes.
Because I can clean my scalp, get my hair clean efficiently. There's not too much lather, so there
Right.
not too much friction, and my braids don't get messed up.
No, I love that one too.
And it smells
Especially
like
the
grass.
nozzle. Yes, the nozzle is so
Yes,
nice. Yeah,
yes.
love that one. Okay, amazing. Yeah, I could imagine it's hard to choose. It's hard for me to choose as well. Favorites from your brand, so I can only imagine as the founder. And so next up, I'm curious, it's Women's History Month, obviously, right now. Who's inspiring you right now? Who would you love to give your flowers to?
Oh, wow. It's a tough choice to narrow down to like one person. But Joteka Edie, she is one of the founding members of Win with Black Women. Her company is Full Circle Strategy. She's an amazing thinker and connector of people, and she's she's not just a person, she's a force. You say her name and people listen and pay attention. If she asks someone to come to something, listen to something, be a part of something, they're coming solely based on the strength of her word.
Nice.
That it's important for them to be there. And she's such a powerful woman that so many people don't know, and they don't realize how much she's impacted their lives because
Right.
of the people that she connects. So yeah, I would give Joteka Edie all the flowers.
I love that. I'm going to look into her work because she sounds phenomenal.
She is.
Yes,
She is.
amazing. As are you. You're a phenomenal woman, entrepreneur, inspiration.
I got flowers from Tracy today.
Oh,
and I
wait.
totally fangirled.
I love. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really
I looked at the
amazing.
card and I said,
Yeah. Speaking of flowers, Tracy Ellis Ross.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
yeah.
Well, that's beautiful.
I adore her.
Yes, me too. Love when your own inspirations are inspired by you as well.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
And I love when you admire somebody and then you meet them and they don't disappoint.
Right.
You know, they
Right.
they live up to
Yes.
that, and Tracy's always been that.
I agree. I have met her and would have to agree.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
She is.
Yes.
She is.
Okay. Well, you're amazing. I'm
Thank
like
you.
fangirling over here. I was trying to keep it together, but just seeing the products in my bathroom as a kid.
Did you see
And now
her in American Fiction? Did you see that movie?
I did. I loved it. Yes.
I don't want to spoil it. Did you see that movie? American Fiction. Oh, okay.
Yes.
What happens with her in the film?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So Tracy looks to me a lot like my mom when my mom was
wow.
young. The
Okay.
big eyes, the freckles. And so sometimes in different roles and photos, like she turns her face and I'm like, whoa, it's Carol.
Yes.
You know,
Wow.
and it like
So you
it's
really
kind
have
of
that connection
jarring,
with
right?
her. Yeah.
And so watching that movie with what happens to her,
Wow.
that's what happened to my mom.
Wow.
And I was
Wow.
not good
Wow.
in the theater. It
No,
was
I can
like
imagine.
it was like watching the thing that I didn't watch.
Right.
I knew what happened. I
Right.
wasn't present when it happened.
Right.
And I felt like I was watching what happened.
Wow.
When she's in the ER and all of
Wow.
that. Yeah.
I'm sure you've shared this with her.
I haven't.
You
I
haven't? Oh, wow.
No.
I'm like, if you ever have a movie about your life, maybe she could play.
That's my
Your
dream.
mother,
That's my dream.
yes.
That she plays
heard it here.
my mom, you know, younger. Because I've
Right,
always wanted to
exactly.
say that to her, but I need to do it like in person
Right.
because she's younger than I am. So it sounds weird to be like, I need you to play my
Right.
mom.
No, I get
you know?
that. Yeah.
So you want
Younger version.
You want to say it in context,
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. Wow. No, that's powerful. So yes, I could see that connection being even more, you know, an inspiration.
And it's something that I noticed a long time ago. I remember I was watching something with her and I took a screenshot and I sent it to one of my siblings and I said, who does that look like? And he's like, oh my God, that's Ma. I
Wow.
said, I know.
Wow.
But it's not.
Wow. I mean, that's kind of amazing. And her having her own hair care brand too, there's so much synergies. We are just so honored that you stopped by here today.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will see you very soon.